More than I need, what you want, girl, it's yours. Give me your feelings, I just can't ignore. 'Cause all I want is you, baby. Give me your time, all your love, I've been patient.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Russell the Fourth.
Hey everybody, it's me, Brandy.
And welcome to another episode of the What They Never Told Us podcast. What's going on?
I have to bring this microphone closer because I said it's Brandy, but I definitely feel like I sound a little bit like Brandon.
Brandon? That's more like T-Boz.
Okay, I like that.
It was a little sexy rasp.
Back in the day when me and my girls, when TLC was a thing, I was T-Boz. So I liked it.
It fits. It fits. Little rasp. I'm here for it.
On the TLC.
It's pretty on point, on time, and timely that we brought up music, because we are probably in one of the most difficult points of our marriage. And this platform. We come to this platform and we utilize it. We utilize it for, we invite you into our life and what's going on with us. And we don't shy away from our issues. We don't shy away from what we're going on. So you guys need to know.
He about to try it.
That's
what y'all need to know.
That our marriage is on the brink of destruction. Okay. The enemy is trying. So last night, me and Brandy chilling. I don't even know how it came up.
We were talking about from scratch.
So Try a Little Tenderness comes on. I'm vibing, right? Like it's Otis Redding. You know what I mean? And then my wife utters these words. You say it, because I don't even want to say it exactly how you said it.
I said Chris Brown version is better. I stand by what I said.
Oh my! Do y'all hear this?
And first of all, you found out you did what you love to do. You ran to Facebook and tried to tell.
I didn't have the words.
Tried to dry snitch on me.
Who's dry snitch? I said my marriage is on the brink. I said exactly what I just said.
There were several people in the comments who said the exact same thing.
I didn't think you were alone in that. I just think you're wrong in that, and they are as well.
And they varied in age, so it wasn't like it was just young people who only know the song from This Christmas. Like, it was older people too.
I want to hear from someone who is challenged as yourself. That's
challenged.
Not the word. Troubled.
Trouble. What are you talking about?
Tone deaf. I don't know what the word is. What I want to hear from somebody like you. Why? Why do you? What do you prefer more?
I told you last night. I feel like Otis's version is very like drawn out. It's very like. It's just really old school. And I like old school music. I really do. You know that I do. I don't listen to this new school bibbity bop. But it's like old school.
Don't ever say bibbity bop.
Bibbity bop.
Old school bibbity bop.
That's how old school I am. Come on.
You definitely tapped in the grammar right there. Old school hoopty boopty, all that.
But like I loved I loved Otis's version because that's all I ever knew, right?
Come on. That's about. Were you a fan of that? Did you know you knew?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I heard Chris Brown sing it, and I was like, "Oh, this is bad." Like, so now when I hear Otis's version, I automatically want to sing Chris Brown's version, and I just feel like and it's no knock to Otis's version. It's what it is. It's a classic. Like, I mean, it's Otis Redding. But I just like that version sung by Chris Brown better than the original.
Okay.
And there are several remixes that are better than the original. Our Marriage, come on, the remix is better than the original. All shade intended.
Okay. All right. So here's my thought. And this is no knock to Chris Brown's version because it was cute. It was cute. First of all, it was a kid singing a man's. That's my first beef. Try a Little Tenderness is a man's song, and Chris Brown with this dainty voice, it don't even match. It's a great cover. It's a great cover of the song, but it is just that it's a cover. It is karaoke. Otis Redding, Try a Little Tenderness is like a man song. It's like. It's supposed to be sung with some grit. That intangible. Now I will say this: there are some musical things that are just perfected with Chris Brown's version. You talked about the timing of it; he's more on beat, whereas Otis kind of dragged along. But when Otis Redding was singing songs back in the day, you had to sing the song the whole way through. Wasn't even no stop and start. You sing the song the whole way through. And if you messed up, you sung the whole thing through again in one take. No auto-tune. None of these like studio tricks. It was just real Negro singing. And because of that, I think because of that, he captured like this kind of intangible soulfulness.
Feeling. It has feeling.
Soulfulness that Chris Brown did. It was so computerized. It's cute. It's like when it got to the that's when I said, Chris.
That's my favorite part of the
Oh
song.
no, I had an attitude. I love first of all, This Christmas is a classic.
Yes.
I love that movie, but I had attitude in the theater. I said, okay,
Whatever.
why would they have him sing this song?
Listen.
Otis Redding, Try a Little Tenderness.
There are some differences between us. Our taste in music
Yeah,
is definitely one.
This one blew me because you love soulful music.
I do.
Jill Scott, Erica. That's why when
Etta
you chose
James, that's my bag.
when you chose the pop guy like Chris Brown singing Try a Little Tenderness over Otis Redding, I was flabbergasted.
I just like if I hear a song, the version that pops into my head, like that I want to sing, is typically the one that I think is the best. And when I hear that song or think of that song, I hear Chris Brown's version. I don't hear Otis in my
It's
head.
okay.
Now I
I
can
get
sing
it.
along to Otis and we can bop in the car, but Chris Brown played in my head. Just know.
You know
I
what?
said what I said. And I stand by
Everybody's
it.
got their own opinions. I respect yours. You were almost perfect. I mean, you are perfect. And I respect your opinion. There was someone in the comments, because of course, I was extra. I posted on Facebook, like she said. But someone in the comments was like, The Weeknd or Michael Jackson's version of Dirty Diana. I didn't even know The Weeknd had a version.
Did you
of Dirty
listen to
Diana.
it?
Never heard it in my life. Never heard it.
Okay, so we have to do that.
Have you heard it?
Yes.
It's good?
Yes.
Well, The Weeknd sounds like a great value Michael Jackson.
Great value. You can at
Great
least give
value.
them members mark. Sam's Club. Come on
They're
now.
the same company.
Walmart.
They're the same company. He does sound like a newer
On
version.
some stuff.
Yeah.
On some stuff. It's a good version. I
I gotta hear it.
yeah.
I gotta hear it.
I think we can have a better conversation after you listen to it.
Okay. It's just with the classics. I'm telling you now, I'm going in with a bias. Because my first thought is like, who do you think you are? And that's exactly why I was like, okay, I don't know who in Chris Brown's camp told him that, but who do you think you are singing Otis Redding? And then you gonna touch an MJ song? Who signed off on this? It's the audacity for me. But if you kill it though,
Actually good.
if you do it justice, then I'm like, okay.
It's actually good.
Yeah.
I think Weeknd is weird enough to like
He gets
pull
away
it
with it.
off. Yeah.
Weird enough.
It's just, I
Why
love
you gotta
the
be
Week-
weird
I
to
love the
sing
Weeknd,
MJ?
but
Why you gotta be weird
he's
to
a
sing
little
MJ?
Abel's a little strange, okay?
He is. He be doing concept stuff that you don't get, like that one album where he looked like he got beat up
Yeah, he walked around for months.
for months with bruises on his face. I'm like, are you gonna explain this? Like, what does it have to do with the album? Or
Everybody
you
thought he
just-
had a facelift. No,
Yeah.
like,
Okay, I'm here for it.
he's strange enough to pull it off. It's actually a really good version.
He's strange enough. Yeah, we'll see. Because it don't always work out. Like I remember when Ashanti sang "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston.
Never heard it. Don't want to hear it. It's
You-
never,
no,
it's
don't
just
do
one
it.
of
It's
those
so
things.
disrespectful. Like, who do you think you are? This is disrespectful.
It's just one of those things that we never have to experience in life. I'm good.
You sure?
I'm positive.
All right, I'm with it. But the truth is that certain singers just don't match with certain songs.
I see what you're trying to do there, but it ain't working.
Certain singers aren't equally yoked with certain songs. It's like, who do you think you are even stepping into this? You don't belong together. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be equally yoked.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that we're talking about this.
Yeah, he's trying to.
I'm trying to do a
compete with
Brandy.
the Segway Queen.
I'm not.
And
I'm
it
just
is
trying to keep.
failing miserably. You sound so corny.
I'm just trying to keep the episode flowing. Know what I'm
You
saying?
sound
Like,
so corny.
I
You
can't
should've-
do it like
You should have just
you.
let me handle it.
You didn't know where we was going with that.
Anyway,
I smoked
No,
that.
you heard me say. I see what you're
It
trying
was
to do there.
it was delivery that messed it up, but the
Because you're
execution.
and you get too excited. That's what blows it every time.
Did you see the angle I was
Contain
taking
yours.
though?
I did. I saw it.
The angle wasn't bad. It was just delivery was
It was
bad.
kind of bad because it don't even make sense. How is
Sir-
person gonna be equally yoked with a song? You just wanted to use the word.
You don't belong with that record. What did you think? Your vocals don't match this. Like, what are we doing?
Anyway, so what are we gonna talk about today?
We're gonna talk about just that, being equally yoked. And I don't know, one of our shorts, if y'all were tapped in with us in between season 2 and season 3, there was we were doing these shorts, like little weekly check-ins where we would just bring up talking points, things to just engage with y'all in. I don't know if we landed on this or if it was actually the subject that we were on, but we talked about being equally yoked. Did we? No, we didn't. Oh, that was a TikTok.
That was actually a TikTok thing that you did.
It was a TikTok thing. Okay.
But it sounded good. I like the story.
Sorry, my bad. I was wrong. I just
made
wasted
up
a minute of our life.
in his head. But anyways, Russell did a look. Let me tell you something. If you have not seen those, look him up on TikTok, Russell, IV, and you will see he is TikTok famous for those things.
Okay.
But he did one that was talking about being equally yoked, and we were going through the comments, and it was astonishing how many people didn't understand what that actually meant.
Yeah.
So then we did like a video response, which you can do on TikTok, and we kind of explained that a little bit more. And I really like the way that you broke it down, the biblical context, because that's what it comes from. So why don't you do that, and then we can go into the conversation.
For sure. Lock check.
Keep me honest. Go ahead.
I got
Keep
you.
talking.
So there was she just explained this, so I don't have to do all that. But equally yoked, unequally yoked is a biblical teaching about how we should approach relationships and forming relationships from a biblical context. I think growing up in church, I've always heard the term, and I just recently got more clarity on what it actually means. I knew it meant.
Can we say that it's not like an egg yolk?
It's not an egg.
YOLK. So next time when y'all get ready to say something about it, you spell it out. That ain't it. That's not the right way to do it.
Yeah,
it's YOKED.
Yep. When I was looking on TikTok, I said, everybody put that L in there. Do they think we're talking about egg yolk? They think we have equal amount of egg yolk.
Yes.
Nah. So I knew that it meant like that we're supposed to be on the same level, right? I think the context I always heard it in was spiritually, right? Like if you're saved, don't be in a relationship with somebody who don't live that lifestyle because they're gonna bring you down. But it's bigger than that, right? That is a concept that plays out in almost every area of life where you have to kind of have a similar disposition. You know what I'm saying? So it's a farming analogy, right? So in those days, it was known in the farming world that you don't yoke a oxen to a donkey because their natures are different, right? Where an oxen is more docile and more geared towards following the will of its master, the donkey is naturally more stubborn, right? And what they tend to find out is that when you yoke an oxen to the donkey, the oxen tends to adopt some of the characteristics of the donkey, whereas before it would be obedient, it would come when you call, it would do the master's will. Now it's starting to be more stubborn because as the oxen's trying to follow the master and the donkey's pulling away, you know, the oxen tends to adopt the characteristics of the donkey. So by that concept in relationships, right, in a spiritual standpoint, right, you have a heart after God, you really love God, and you're like, you know what, I'm living my life for him. Where he tells me to go, I'm going to go. But you yoke yourself to somebody or you get in relationship with somebody who doesn't have that same heart as you, doesn't have that same conviction as you, you know, eventually you're going to adopt the characteristics of the person that you're with, right? Church might be very important to you, but you're with somebody who it don't mean nothing to. On them Sundays where it's hard to get out of bed and you're really comfortable, you're going to stay in bed, you know? And eventually what was a one Sunday thing now becomes a pattern. Same thing with everything, you know, just business, the way you live your life, things that are important to you, families of value for you, but you yoke yourself with somebody who doesn't care about that. Now you find yourself compromising. So long-winded way of explaining that. I'm sorry. I do that a lot.
That's okay. And I think it's relevant though, because I lived that life, right? And it was on a smaller scale because I wasn't, like, I believed in God. My grandmother was the pillar of faith for my family. So she fed me the word anytime she could, but I didn't go to church growing up.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, I wasn't raised in the church. Like when I needed to hear about God, I went and asked my granny. That was it. She was the resource.
Need somebody to pray for you.
Yeah, that was it. So my faith was like through osmosis. And so with it being a little shaky, I'm now in a relationship with someone who's like, yo, I don't believe in that God stuff.
I'm good on
Yo,
all that.
God, you know what I'm saying? You believe in the Bible. That's the white man's teaching, you know, all of those things.
Yeah.
And it caused me to question, because my faith was already like, it wasn't my faith. It was
not
my
good
grandmother's
foundation,
faith.
yeah.
And I didn't know how to combat those thoughts. And so my way of thinking started to change. Like, well, maybe that's not the truth. And when your foundation isn't solid, when somebody introduces doubt into that, like our human minds try to make sense of things that we weren't just naturally made or created to understand. We are humans for a reason, and God is God for a reason. There are some things that we are just not meant to understand, but because we have our own will and our own thinking, we try to understand that. And when you don't have a foundation of, you know, God is God, and there's just some stuff that you ain't never gonna figure out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure that out, and it's not making sense, and somebody's telling me, see, because it doesn't make sense, it's not the truth. And so I start to believe that, and I started to say, I'm not a Christian. I mean, I'm spiritual, but I don't believe in everything that's in the Bible is the truth.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if God exists. And I was saying those things out of my mouth. And then when I got to a point where that relationship had ended, and now I'm faced with kind of how far removed I've been.
Yeah.
And I realized that I need something else besides me to help me do this life. And it kept me from going to church and seeking God for myself, because I felt ashamed of how far I had strayed away. Even though, you know, like I said, I wasn't the devout Christian before the relationship, I still knew what I knew, right?
There's some stuff that you knew was put inside.
Absolutely. And it made it harder to come back to a point where I could surrender myself and say, you know what? I do believe in God, and I believe in God because of all of these things. There's evidence in my life. And even though I've tried to deny it, like, I know God is real.
Yeah.
It was so hard for me to overcome, and I felt ashamed for once denying those things. And so I can tell you from personal experience that relationship right there, a romantic relationship where y'all beliefs are not the same. And I know, like the Bible says, and I don't want to butcher the scripture, but like a husband is sanctified through his wife, but vice versa. Like where we feel like if we are a certain way, we can effectively change the will or the person that we're with. When in truth, that's not our job.
That's real.
And if we yoke ourselves to a person who is that different on the core values and core beliefs, just like the donkey and the oxen, one of y'all gonna stray. And it's usually the person that doesn't fight for it as much. I want my relationship with you more than I want my relationship with God. And we stray. I was there. I knew who God was.
Yeah.
And I still strayed.
So let me ask you this, and I think we landed at a good place. How important is it for people to share faith in a relationship?
Super important. I think it's one of the most important aspects of your relationship.
I think this is going to be a sticky subject, because there's a lot of people who have found love across spiritual belief systems. So Christians who have fallen in love with atheists, Muslims who are married to Christians, Buddhists who are in relationships with Christians, and their love is genuine, right? And honestly, it's why you make that noise? You don't believe that love can be genuine across faiths?
I wouldn't say that I don't believe, but if you're a Christian and you believe that, you know, God is love that comes from God. We love because he first loved us. If that's what you believe, how do you think that somebody who doesn't believe in God can love you?
Well, I think love is something that God gave us to feel and experience. And the truth is, we can access love between human to human outside of a belief system of God. Now the quality of the relationship, the quality of the love, I believe would be affected if you don't have the lens to look through of how to approach it in the way that it was designed to be approached. But the ability to feel it, the ability to express it, I think those are things that we can feel, because then that would assume that no one who believes in God experiences love.
Well, I wouldn't say that because when I was lost in the world, and all of us, like when we were lost in the world before we got saved, like it's his love that reached down and grabbed us and pulled us out. Yeah. So we are definitely able to experience it.
For
I think
sure.
that's when you experience it the most.
Absolutely.
When you depart from it. But I mean, expressing that type of love for someone. Now, if you're just, I don't know, if you're dating or whatever, it might be possible to like feel the feels. But marrying someone, like, how, do you not acknowledge your faith when you get married?
Well, and it also weighs in about how important your faith is to you, because there's a lot of people who in their heart they say, I believe in God, but they've never been entrenched like in that lifestyle, right? Like there's a difference between a person who's like, yo, I'm sought out, like I'm praying with my spouse every night. I'm doing this. My family's going to go to church. As for me and my house, we serve the Lord. Like, there's a difference between those. And there's some people who say in their heart, like, I believe God, but they don't really live that life.
Yeah.
Like you just said, I'm spiritual, but I don't do all that.
Yeah.
So for them, they could say, oh, I believe in God, but that doesn't necessarily translate to living a lifestyle that would conflict with someone who says, oh, well, I'm a Muslim because that's what I grew up in. But they don't really live that lifestyle either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it does matter how entrenched you are and how important your faith is to you. I think for someone who is big on their faith and big on like, look, this is the truth that I stand on, this is the truth that I live on, and I'm not going to compromise. That person would have a very hard time being with the person who says, I believe in Allah, I am a Muslim man, and this is what I stand on, and this is what I believe in. I'm not compromising. Now that's not gonna work, because when kids get in the mix and you got to teach and groom and plant seeds, it's confusion.
I mean, obviously, I'm not condemning any religion. I can only speak from personal experience. So as a Christian who is now big on God, big G, big O, big D, exclamation point.
Okay.
Okay.
So
when I was looking for someone,
I
wasn't even looking for someone, I can't say that, but when I was started being open to the fact of dating, that's like standard number one. Like if you don't have even that as a foundation, and I don't judge, because like you know what I'm saying? I know what your foundation is. I know where you come from.
Yeah.
But when we were reintroduced to one another, you weren't there. And for me, living the life in front of you and setting my expectation, like this is what I would expect from somebody that I'm going to be in a relationship with. And I'm not going to compromise on that.
Yeah.
You can change, but I'm not changing.
For sure.
On that.
Now, the truth is, like, at least for us at that point, there was a lot of stuff that was, I wouldn't say put aside. Like, I never in my mind said, oh, I don't believe in God no more. I'm not doing that no more. I think in my mind, I just was like, I'm going through something.
Yeah.
And because I'm going through something,
you lost your way.
I can't go into that church because I'm not who I know I need to be. Man, I can't. I had too much respect for ministry, and I think my gifts and my calling was on me so heavy that I found it difficult going into church without taking part in church.
Can I just say that that's probably the time that you need to be in church, but
No.
We past that now.
Well, the problem was when I went in church, I didn't just get to sit and hear.
Yeah.
It was, hey, Russ, come up and say something.
Yes.
Hey, Russ, come sing something. Hey, Russ, what did the Lord tell you?
Yeah.
And I didn't have nobody business.
Yeah.
And that's what I found difficult. I said, I can't minister to the people
Absolutely.
when I need to minister to myself. And when I've lost my way,
yes.
I'm not in no position. And I respect the office too much. I respect what that is, that I'm not going to be up there if, you know what I mean? So that's what I found difficult. I remember there was this youth service I went to, and this ain't really the point of it, so I'll make it quick. But there was this youth service I went to, and I went because I just needed to be in church. Mm-hmm. It was in a church I'd never been to before, and I just knew I can come in here and sit down, and what am I going to bother me? And no.
Minister Davis.
I had to give a word, rap. Just like, I don't even know. I was like, man, what? And my life was foolishness.
Yeah.
And everything I was saying, even though I knew it to be the truth, it wasn't what I was experiencing.
You were living contradictory.
I was living contradictory to that and denying the truth of what I. So, long story short, that technically that is an excuse because I still should have found a way to. That's no excuse, you know what I'm saying? But that just was my experience. But when I met you, it made me want to find him again. Seeing you renewed, changed, this version of you, like, what you mean you don't, like, it's weird that I feel weird cussing around you because you always been a sailor.
Always.
So me, like, cussing, oh, my bad, and you being like, no, you good. I was like, wow, who have I become? Who has she become? And it made me like want to find, like, seeing you live your life in front of me made me want to like
check that.
It made me want to find out how I had strayed away so far. It showed me right away. Like, dang, how did I get here? No one else helped me. No one else asked me, yo, like, what's up with you and God? Why you running? All this stuff, huh? Yo.
We're going to call it spade a spade.
Yeah. So, but I know we went down a little rabbit hole, but and ultimately in a relationship, your faith, if it's important to you, I think it would be really difficult to manage that when you don't believe the same thing.
And we would be open to hearing, of course, you know, our view and our aspect is just one.
It's just ours.
It's just one aspect. Yeah. For people who are in relationships where your faith, there's a difference in your faith and you're making it work. We would love to hear how that's going. What are the challenges?
Raising
what are
kids,
your experiences? Yeah, because
I don't know how
it ain't our dynamic, so we can't really speak on it. Yeah. You know, from personal experience, for me, that did not work, and I did not like the person that I had become because of someone else's influence.
Yeah, and your spiritual life is so important to you. Like, it's so necessary. You know what I mean? Like, so at some point in life, you're going to need to lean in on what you believe.
Yeah.
Because we're spiritual beings.
But that's not the only difference, right? That's not the only thing that can make you unequally yoked from your partner.
No, not at all. And there's a difference here. And I think a lot of people confuse compatibility with being equally yoked.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, for instance,
we like the same music in the same movie, so
we're equally yoked. No.
That's not how that works.
No, you got things in common. That's all that is. And speaking of that, in what ways would you say that we are not equally yoked?
I wouldn't say that we aren't equally yoked. I would not say that. I think,
in what ways are we different?
Yes, that's what I would say. I think our nature is very much the same. And as a whole person, I think we have the same core value foundations and the things that even if I'm not as strong as you, you know what I'm saying? We balance each other out in those areas. But there are some differences
for sure
that cause a little bit of concern.
Like what? Give it to me.
So, like, just for instance, so we recognize that there were not core differences, but very big differences in our lives. The way that we just approach things in the very beginning. And actually, when we started thinking about having a podcast, we ran through a few names. And one of those names, I don't know if you remember it, not was Grace and the Grace and Truth podcast. Because like, you know, you're all truth and, you know, I'm Grace, you know, how do we... No,
I'm Grace.
Yeah, that's
let's
what
give
I
him
said.
another chance. You said I'm all
true.
Grace, and
No,
you're.
You didn't listen. Watch when we watch it back.
I can't wait. Yo, hold on, wait, pause. Now, once again,
Watch when we watch
she
it
be
back.
so sure. I can't wait.
I know what I said.
Anyway,
Truth, Grace.
Yes.
And I think that thing where I'm just hard hitting facts, don't feel a lot of emotion in the moment when I need to make decisions, when I'm in an argument, when I'm, you know, when I'm just on and firing, where you are very emotional, very cognizant of what's happening in you and in the person that you're communicating with, and sensitive to that.
You're a head, I'm the heart.
Absolutely.
You're
Absolutely.
the brains, I'm the heart.
And so as we navigate life, that thing, our biggest challenge is finding out how to make the head and the heart connect.
Yeah. And
we have both operated for so long in just that path and been successful to an extent in life, just doing that, just being who we are. Your heart, your personality is what people recognize the most in you.
And that's kind of a bar too, because that's a lot of people struggle in general, balancing out their thinking brain and their emotional brain. Like that's
our relationship plays that out.
Absolutely.
And so we have a very, I would say, difficult time when it comes to things that are a mixture of both. Like, we got to put our head in this and we have to put our heart in this. And where you want to approach it with all heart and I want to approach it with all head, and there's no balance there. That's our biggest hurdle. And if I'm being honest, in marriage counseling, that was the thing that made us both be like, yo, can we do this?
Yeah, because every issue that we came to, whether it was finances, whether it was boundaries, whether it was anything,
it all came down.
You're thinking your way through it, and I'm like, but it makes me feel this, and you're like, well,
but
I think this.
Sense.
It don't make sense. I think this. I'm like, but think of how I feel, but like it was always this, mix between the two. But it's about that balance, right? Now, in terms of, I think what makes us work, right? And I think we've said this in a myriad of ways, but with the ways that we differ naturally, because we're a little different in a couple of different ways, right? Like with you being a head person, there's certain things that just come more easy to you. Task-oriented things.
Planning,
organizing. I'm a hard person, so I'm all feeling, well, I don't feel like it. And I'm, like...
So irritating.
But with that, what balances us out is that we're equally yoked in our values, in our belief system, in what drives us, right? So even in those moments where we might be split on how to handle something, we're yoked in the regard that our relationship, what we share, is extremely important to us. It's not about us. We say all the time, this ain't even about us. It's bigger than us, right? And knowing that helps drive us to not let something like a disagreement or you handling something one way and me handling it another way, or you functioning in a household one way and I function a different way, that's not going to break us apart because we're yoked in our values. None of us, we're going to pray about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's those things. And I think that's why this is so key, because at the end of the day, at the end of whatever it is you're going through, if y'all don't share the same core values, if y'all don't share the same heart for, I was
your tendencies,
like all of that. Like there's I don't know how you work around that.
I think that what I think a lot of people, and I can speak for myself in this and for others that we talk to. The problem is, not only do we have differences, because you're not going to find you in another person. Like, and if you did, why would you want that? So boring, right? You want somebody that challenges you, that pushes you, that sees something in a different way from you, so that you can get a 360 view of a situation, and then y'all can tackle that together. But what happens is we find people who we have these differences with, but we're also not equally yoked with them. So then when the differences conflict, we don't have anything backing that up. For us, we have that backing it up. Even when we don't agree, we know the common ground that's there. We know what we're moving forward towards. We know what the end goal is for us, right? To be happy, to make our family work, that our kids are okay, that God is the head of everything that we do. You know what I'm saying? So in that sense, even though we have differences, the differences don't pull us apart because the foundation is the same. It's the problem when you have differences and the foundation ain't, you on sand and he on cement. Now what y'all gonna do?
Absolutely. I have a homie who, for the most part, we're kind of polar opposites in terms of our values and what drives us. But he's still a good friend of mine. And I used to work so hard trying to understand him and his wife's relationship because he was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't want kids. Huh? What you mean? Never? Nah, I'm good on that. Well, what about your wife? She's kind of on the same page. What do you mean, kind of?
Yeah.
But they both found this love and this internal drive for adventure. They want to see stuff and experience stuff, and they want to touch their feet on grounds that they've never walked before. That, if that is your drive and if that's a big thing to you, kids is gonna mess that up.
For sure.
That's gonna do, you know what I mean? Like,
rethink it.
But there's a lot of people who are in these scenarios, right, where there are things that drive you and are important to you, but you're with someone who that just doesn't drive them at all, right? I want kids. Now I'm good on that. I don't want kids. I like peace. I don't want the responsibility. Or it's really important to me that we travel and do these things. And you're like, no, I'm good on that. Or let's make this work. Let's work through this. Now I'm good on you. Huh? Like, what? Like, no, I'm good. You got one time with me. You just have different drives and different values. And you're sitting there stressed out trying to make it work with somebody who doesn't even share the same core belief system as you.
Right.
That's always going to be a struggle.
Internal drivers are different. And I think women have this issue. I think I see it more in women more, where we feel like because we're so solid in one thing, because our beliefs are so firm in having kids and what a family looks like and how a household runs and all those things, that we think that no matter who we're with, we can influence them to be the same as us. So I can love him through that. If I just love him enough, it'll change. If I show him the right way, it'll change. And in some ways, you can, right? We've seen that in our relationship. In some ways, it is possible to live a life that is so and effective to another person that it pulls them, it drives them. That's what we as Christians do all the time.
Yeah.
But again, it's, if you get down to the root of it, like, I believe this because of these things, and that has shaped the person that I am. Essentially, if you're asking them to change, you're asking them to change who they are. And that's a hard thing to do. I can change a pattern, I can change a behavior, but who I am at the core,
I think that's the key part right there.
Is who I am.
That's
and I can't change that.
Yeah, because the only reason why your life ministered to me is because there were already values that I shared.
Absolutely.
That I had just been ignoring. Now, if you're living that life in front of me, and at no point in my life have I ever cared or will ever care about my relationship or rapport with God, that don't mean nothing to me. I just like being with you. And there's a lot of women who, we've seen this, live their whole lives with somebody. And I don't know if this exists in other parts of the world, but I always see it in the Black context. Even with, personal family, like where you said grandma was this devout woman of God. Like
my grandpa was like, don't put me away in no church. I'm never going there. I don't know why you keep giving our money to them. Like, my grandpa wasn't about it.
That was my grandma and grandfather until recently. My grandfather just got saved maybe some years back, right? But before that, nah, he was a military, cuss like a sailor, will cuss you out at the drop of a dime. Russell Jr., Russell number 2. Nah, he wasn't about none of that. You know what I'm saying? All kids were ministers, got saved, started preaching. But him, he was like, I'm good on that. It wasn't until in his older age where he was like, you know what, I'm going to submit to this. But it was a marathon. It was a marathon. It wasn't overnight. You know what I mean?
And I think too, like, I still believe that even when that conversion happened, that there was something there always, right? You know what I'm saying? We can run for a long time, a lifetime. Yeah. But if it's something in you that pulls you calls you higher. But in some people, we have to recognize that thing's just not there.
Yeah.
And when we try to love a person through that can cause a lot of detriment to ourselves, and it can cause you to compromise. So I think my advice to people who are in that is, if you are in a relationship like that, and the person you're in a relationship with it causes you to get relaxed on the things that you know make you, the things that you believe. That's not a good relationship for you. If you can effectively manage believing everything that you believe, whether it's God, whether it's Allah or Buddha, or just that the sugar go in the pantry and it don't go in the cabinet, whatever it is, if you can live your life believing that and never have to question that because of the person you with believes something different than you, then I believe that you can actually make it work. Because you're so set in what you believe that nothing can change that. Yeah. I think it's really difficult to live that type of life. And I've tried it in several instances, and it has never worked out. There's an influence that sometimes takes place that we don't even recognize.
Yeah.
And you get pulled so far away that now I don't know who I am. And now I'm questioning the things that made me me. That's a dangerous place to be in.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's, that's a big conversation. I don't even know if it even fits in this because it's only an hour-long podcast. But it's like, I think about in terms of just faith, right? What you believe. We believe what we believe because it's what we were taught to believe.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, you were born on one part of the world that's predominantly Muslim. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be raised and groomed to believe that this is the truth about life. This is the truth about God. You're going to be handed that.
I do believe that, but I do also believe that at some point your experience has to kick in.
Well, yeah, that's where I was going.
Ahead. My bad.
That's where I was going.
My bad.
And like that, I get that a lot. Like with people who talk to me, and you know, with the whole look, let me tell you something. Mm-hmm. I get a lot of those questions like, how do you know what you believe to be true? If you were born over here, you believe something else. The only reason you're Christian is because you grew up in America, which is a predominantly Christian society. But to me, it's like 3 + 3 is 6. I learned that. I was taught that. I was taught to learn that. Mm-hmm. The only reason I now know that to be true is because I went, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's real. I tried it for myself. I found it to be true. Now, I will say this. When I lived my life just relying on what faith was handed to me, it crumbled.
Absolutely.
It was, like you said, it was a shaky foundation. It was nothing to stand on. But in 2020, when I got to know him for myself, and I tried it for myself, and I found out 2 + 2 is 4, 3 + 3 is 6. God is God. Like, when I found that out for myself, I'm not just giving you something I was handed. Mm-hmm. This is something, because I did that. I lived my life that way. I did it both ways. I slept with who I want to sleep with. I drank every night. I smoked good. I did whatever I wanted to do, and I lived my life that way. And I felt what that felt like. I've also known what it's like to live a life devoted to God and following the way that he says, live your life. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt in my mind that the quality of life that I experienced doing it God's way is exponentially better than what I experienced doing what I wanted to do. I'm living life abundantly doing it God's way. So this isn't just, this is what I'm doing because this is what I was said to do because this is what I'm supposed to do. No, this is the best way to live life. You know what I'm saying? So me experiencing that, now we have to have the conversation of, if I experience that and I live that and I believe that, if I get with you and you don't believe that, you don't believe in a God at all. Now, maybe we say, cool, you don't have to believe what I believe. We just respect each other's beliefs. Now we have kids who have questions about life. Where do we come from? They see me go to church. They see you go to mosque. whatever you go to. How, this is what I need clarity on. How do we develop and raise kids and raise a healthy belief system in anything if
there's a conflict?
And a lot of people say, they'll just believe what they want. Like, yeah, but you know what I mean?
Something has to shape that.
Something has to shape that. And I think I'd be more inclined to believe, like, man, it can't be that serious. My dad believe this, my mom believe this, It can't be that serious. They both serious about, one thing, but
yeah,
it seems very difficult in the aspect of family, right? To lead a house and manage that when y'all believe something different. Yeah. Like, what if a kid comes and say, "Mommy said that when God created Earth, He made sun, said it was good, and Adam and Eve." And what are you going to just say? That's good, or are you going to say, "Nah"? What if it conflicts with what you believe?
Yeah, I don't know. We believe the same thing, so I can't answer that question for you. I think it's up to the people who out there who do have that experience with that. I can say for sure that you have to find some commonality somewhere, and especially when it comes to children, being raised in a house that's conflict at the core, it's gonna cause confusion in your kids. Yeah. So before you even have them, you have to come to some consensus on this is what we doing. It can't be the moment that they hear and they asking questions that we like, who do we listen to? Do we listen? Oh, I'll just let you choose. Their brains they don't have the thought process, they don't have the experience, they don't have the wisdom, the knowledge and discernment to make that decision for themselves. So somebody has to lead and guide, and y'all got to figure out a way to do that. I can't tell nobody else how to raise their kids. I don't know.
And I'm not doing that either. I'm saying I don't know how it works. So I need somebody help me understand.
Help.
And this is one of the ways that being equally yoked helps.
Yeah, I think it's just some mountains that we don't have to climb.
Yeah.
Because we made sure that it was the same. And every marriage relationship is going to go through trials and tribulations. For me as a person in a relationship, I want to try to eliminate the ones that I can eliminate. I don't want to go through no unnecessary trials and tribulations because I already know that the marriage is under attack. Marriage is not, it 100%. Ain't the thing to do now. Absolutely so not. We're going to experience opposition in just by living life in general.
That's why.
I'm not gonna pick nobody that don't believe what I believe, that don't say what I say, that don't think what I think. You know what I'm saying? And then have to fight that inside of my home on top of everything else.
That part, I'm
trying to go the path of least resistance here.
In the beginning of the relationship, before the relationship, when we just learning about each other, when you tell me you don't believe in God, you be lucky if I let the potatoes come out. I might finish the meal. But
I forgot I had.
Well, that'll do it for me. That is good for me. Or anything, like any of your values. Like, hey, you're somebody who was raised in a household where the dad was a worker, mom was a stay-at-home mom. That value is very important to you. But you get with a man who's like, well, I'm not really the one to... I like floating around from job to job. I'm not really big on money. Like life will provide.
I think that's why we see shows like we are big Mavs fans. Like we like Married at First Sight. Yeah. And I think that's the core flaw to a lot of those shows because on paper you can be anybody who you want to be.
That part.
In a few quick conversations when I'm an expert and I'm trying to match you with somebody, I'm going to tell you everything that you want to hear to make sure that I get on the show and I get matched with somebody. But when you're put in a situation where you have to live real life with someone,
it's gonna go bad.
You got to pay bills. You have to navigate work situations and family dynamics. If we aren't on the same page, it's not going to work. I can't foresee it. And we see that play out on the show. There are some where it's perfect, and they make it work, right? Yeah. But there are others where you're just like, they get with the person and what they presented is not the same.
Yeah.
Because we can present our best selves to somebody, but once we start living lives with each other, I'm gonna see who you really are. You can tell me you clean all day, but when I live with you every single day and I see you leave your drawers everywhere,
you take a shot,
and you always leave the crust around the toothpaste.
You take a shot.
No, I'm not. Even though your drawers do be everywhere. That was just the first thing that came to
Not
my
all
head.
the time.
We gotta face that.
That part.
And if cleanliness ain't important to you, but it's super important to me, even though you said it was super important to you, once I find that out, how do I deal with that? Somebody got to change. Are you going to compromise? And I know that's a very light situation, but when it comes to faith and beliefs and values, I am who I am because of what I experienced and what I grew up with and what was instilled in me. And you're asking me to change that because it's not the way that you are. No other reason. That's a hard sell for me.
That's real. And I also want to say that ain't light. Like the cleaning thing, that's not light.
It truly it ain't if it's really important to you.
Yeah, and even if it's not, like there are things that are like small things, but the more you deal with the small thing, it becomes a painful thing. Like I can sit and tap you on the arm lightly, but if I do it over a extended period of time, now, at first it's going to be annoying. Then it's going to get painful. That spot's going to get tender because it's just continuous. And that's how it is in relationships, right? So today, maybe you can overlook that, like he's just not as clean as you are. But year 10.
You're going to get tired of cleaning up after that, Negro.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's in every area of life. Sex. Maybe she has a higher libido. Maybe you're willing to sacrifice that for now. But at some point, your needs are going to need to be met. You know what I mean? So it's just so important that when you're approaching relationships in the beginning, in the present, and in the future, that you're intentional, right? You're assessing who's good for me in every regard, not just who makes me feel good, but who you are as a person, how you live your life. How does that match up with who I am as a person and how I live my life? Yeah, you can make me smile. Yeah, you're sweet and you say nice things. You make my body feel good. But when we talk about doing life, that stuff is fickle.
None of that matters.
That's fickle.
In the 100%, that's probably like 20%.
Nah,
like,
for real.
How I feel.
Absolutely. Like it takes so much more than that to like live a life with somebody. You know what I mean? Like you talk about doing life with somebody where you don't know what's gonna happen to them. They can get sick one day. One day they can scoop you up in their arms and make you feel like you with the strongest person in the world. Next day they're sick and they can't even wipe themselves. And you need like when you talk about doing life with somebody, that's so heavy. Like you don't know what you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know what life is what card life is gonna hand you. And you want to make sure that you with somebody who you share the same values with and somebody who's in the trenches with you for real. Not because you make them feel good or because they like the way you look. And nah, that's fickle. You need to be with me in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I feel like this conversation is valuable. And I think from that, I'm glad we landed on this because from that TikTok post, I think I was really surprised that a lot of people who just didn't have a good understanding of this concept and why it's important.
And I think if you don't have a good understanding of it, that's your first mistake, right? Yeah. If I don't know what runs a relationship, that it's not just how we make each other feel, what we believe, what we think, why we think that, how we think, all of that matters. Yeah. And if I don't have a good understanding of how all of that plays into relationship, when I'm just picking people because they make me feel good, when the feelings fade, what do you have?
Nothing. A wet butt.
And they will. Come on. Let me use my teaching.
That is the funniest thing to me.
But essentially, for real.
Yeah.
Or you might have just money. And money's not going to get you through the tough times.
That's real. And that's a point because there's so many people building relationships on stuff that society glamorizes, but it's not enough to sustain a relationship. You know how many millionaires getting divorces? The dude, Jeff Bezos, is that his name?
Yeah, Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah.
All the money in the world, still divorced.
Look at we do how you know how black people do. We know people by they attributes, right?
Yeah, Amazon dude.
So he Amazon.
Divorced. How many marriages, Hollywood, people who have every amenity available to them, and it still don't work. That's not enough to keep nobody
at all.
Yeah.
And again, I can almost guarantee you that the thing that broke them ain't had nothing to do with money.
Nah, that wasn't an issue.
that ain't the problem. Money helps. It does help. Now, don't get me wrong.
Nah,
being broken in love is not really. It ain't the deal. You know what I'm saying? I done been there. It ain't fun.
It's about,
but it has to be more than that.
It's so much more than that, right? Like we've made so many things the emphasis for choosing somebody that really weighs so little. Way she look, her body, you know, how sexually free she is, how much money he got, he a boss. Like in the grand scheme of things, none of which are gonna sustain the relationship. Cause I don't care how good she is in the bed. If your house don't have peace, if you can't trust her, if her presence is vexing to you outside of the bedroom, you not. Like, that's a small margin of your life that you spend having sex. What about the rest of the day?
You can't build no relationship on that.
You just out the house? No.
Or you're searching for somebody else who gives you the feeling in the other areas.
Absolutely. So we done ran this conversation all the way around, but I think it's valuable, 100%.
Absolutely.
We'll be back tomorrow live. Am I missing anything else? No?
8:30 on Facebook, Eastern Standard Time. Hit us up. Come Facebook, YouTube. We will be back on TikTok. We could not be on TikTok last live because they kept flagging us for saying sex, which is really whack.
It's so whack.
Because there's so many half-naked people on TikTok that I just don't understand that.
It's so much crazy stuff on
whatever.
TikTok. Can't even say the word sex. Yeah.
That's okay. We'll be back on TikTok. So you can join us on live subscriptions because we do have those now.
That part.
Or you can come to Facebook and watch us there, or YouTube. If you want to support the show, we still have a Patreon for the moment. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do with that. So for those of you who are still on Patreon, thank you for being patient with us as we figure out and navigate that. A lot of social media services are now offering subscriptions. So we're trying to balance which one we're going to go with. As far as that, you can always support the show through Cash App. It's $ what they never told us. Always, if you have questions or episode ideas, you can hit us up on all social media platforms. We are What They Never Told Us Pod, or you can email us at whattheynevertolduspod@gmail.com.
That part. Also, quick plug. Questions, subject matters, topics, anything that you guys would be interested in us chopping it up about on the podcast, feel free to hit us up on any one of our social platforms, whether it's Facebook, IG.
Didn't I just say that?
You did? About topics?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. My bad. Sorry. I thought you were talking about Patreon and stuff.
No.
My bad. Well, as always, we love love.
Y'all should love too.
Peace.